No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way.
He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't put it up
legend.
later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Hello, what's up everybody? It is Pikel with League of Items, and I have a standing desk now. So I am standing recording this video. That is insane. What a crazy world we live in. So basically, we had an interesting LPL slate last night, and it was interesting in the sense that it was pretty clear, I think, that you needed to get both sides of the second match. So let me just read my little blurb that I gave out to my Discord yesterday. So my note was FPX and VG. So my two picks that I keep track of in my sheet, like I'm at like 62 or 63% right now. My picks were FPX and VG Gaming. I said EDG is a live dog and is the sharp side. I don't like them at plus 117, which is what their original number was. But if they were at plus 140, I'd be on it, meaning I would make a real-life bet. I think the obvious takeaway from that is that on DraftKings, the correct play was to play both sides of that match tonight. The lowest owned variation of that would be having EDG as your primary stack. So I ran that in my qualifier, and I missed by like 10 points or something like that because I didn't have Xiaoshang. I actually had access to the best possible lineup from the sheet. So it was Scout, who outscored Duanbi, Xiaoshang, who outscored Gimgoon. It was Jai Jai, who outscored... No, it was actually Tian, I think. I think Jai Jai outscored Tian by a little bit, but I think the lineup that I was close to having had Tian, Duanbi, and Fun Plus Phoenix in the secondary stack, and then had Scout, Xiaoshang, Hope, and Mako. So I did not take down that qualifier, but I was very close, so I got my money back at least. It's pretty interesting how they run the qualifiers. But this is just the odds that we had yesterday. So we had FPX at minus 420 against OMG at 295. FPX coming off of a couple of bad games. It was a get right spot for them. They're not as bad as they've looked recently. Next up, we had EDG and VG Gaming. So like I said, it was minus 155 to plus 117, 118, 120 most places. And the difference between making a bet at plus 117 and plus 140 over time is going to be gigantic. So I don't feel bad that I missed out on this bet. I had it on DraftKings, so I get my exposure to it typically from a sportsbook or from DraftKings itself. So let's take a look at tomorrow's matches real quick, and then I'll jump into some like review from last night, because I know that people have been enjoying that recently. So Rogue Warriors against E-Star. So if we think about the narratives from this match, Rogue Warriors is a team that has been moving in the right direction because of their jungler Haro. So Haro is a player that we've been focused on since the middle of last split. That one match that he had against JDG, I think, where he had like 11 or 12 kills as Elise. That's the kind of upside that you get with Haro. He had that insane performance a couple weeks ago, where he was like, I think he scored like 130 or something like that with two gigantic carry performances. So Haro, we know what we're getting with Haro, the upside with Haro. I think because of that, Haro is going to be probably the highest owned jungler on the slate. Rogue Warriors has 2 match wins. They beat LGD as well. So that's going to be fresh in everybody's mind. I think Rogue Warriors will actually end up being the public side in that match. I'm not sure if there's going to be any difference of opinion though from the sharps, from sharps looking at it and the public looking at it. So I guess we have to kind of think about what E-Star has done and what they will be able to do. So we don't know who's starting as the AD carry for E-Star, it could be Rat, or it could be Wink. When E-Star played OMG, the only reason they played Rat was because Wink was either hurt or sick or something like that. So I don't think it's going to be a long-term change. But after they beat OMG, maybe they decide to run it back with Rat. So we'll have to watch out for the starting rosters for that one. In the top lane, we have Crazy or Holder. It's been mostly Holder. In the mid lane, we have Wuming. Then we have Zwuji and Lei. And, I mean, Rogue Warriors is okay. The thing with E-Star is that they were really hyped up last split. They had Cryin and Wink, the I've Got Something in My Eye, almost perfect lineup. Or the Poked in the Eye lineup. That's what it was called. So they have Xiaobai, Wei, Fun, Wink or Rat, and then Xiaoxi. So I think that there are a couple of spots where E-Star actually do have the advantage. In the jungle, I'd give the advantage to Haro. In the mid lane, I think it's pretty even. In the bot lane's probably an advantage to E-Star in terms of long-term talent. But right now, the form of Rogue Warriors is pretty good, so I don't blame anybody who plays Rogue Warriors tonight. Next up, we have Team World Elite against Bilibili Gaming. So Team World Elite just lost a match against LGD. So, I mean, I guess you can kind of look at that differently depending on your opinion of LGD. But I think that World Elite and LGD are two very similar teams, not only in terms of playstyle, but also in terms of talent. So I wasn't shocked. I was on LGD. So I don't think that was a downgrade for them at all. Bilibili Gaming, everybody likes Bilibili Gaming right now since Meteor came back. I think the love has been a little bit too intense. I think that Meteor is either the second or third best jungler in terms of real-life talent on this slate. Obviously a gigantic upgrade from Best 16, the player they were running out previously, but I think that Beishang is certainly better than Meteor, and I think that Haro is probably better than Meteor as well in terms of being able to carry and giving us the DraftKings performances that we want. But Meteor does have the really high upside as well. He had one match where I think he scored 130 points. So that is something that you have to watch out for. If we go lane by lane, it's going to be Morgan against Chilizi, right? So Morgan's better there. Beishang against Meteor. Beishang is better. Teacher Ma against Fun. Or wait, no, Fofo. Let me just... I always get that mixed up, Fofo and Fun. If you like the music that I've been listening to recently on the stream and on YouTube, it's this guy Matt Churn Beats. He gives out free music to people making content on YouTube and Twitch, and I think it's actually pretty good. So I've actually just been listening to it sometimes when I'm not even looking for like non-copyrighted music and stuff. It's pretty relaxing. So we have Chilizi, Xiaopeng. Oh, Twilight. What was I saying? Oh wait, I'm on the wrong team. Okay. So I was like combining DMO and BLG. So okay, so in the top lane we have Kingen or ADD. They are sub risks. Meteor is not a sub risk. Meteor is going to play every game. Fofo, riding on Fofos, is not a good mid laner. Wings and Jinmo. Wings is a very good Ashe player, but I think that's going to get taken away. That's going to get taken away from him. So, again, World Elite has the advantage top lane. In the jungle, mid lane is pretty close. I don't think Teacher Ma is great as a player, but Teacher Ma is good on this patch and in this meta where you can really play around the jungler. Then in the bot lane, we have Zhao Meng and Missing against Wings and Jinmo. My one concern... I guess they weren't one of the teams. They did pick Jhin, so I really don't like the Jhin pick right now. And World Elite did pick that in one of the games against Team World Elite. So I would be a little bit afraid of that. but not enough for me to pick Billy Gaming, to be honest. So let's get this. Where's the most recent games? They usually just have it right here. There we go. All right. So I did not watch. I did not watch OMG against FPX.
Wasn't even.
There's a lot of yelling going on. All right. So we're not going to be able to look at the pick ban from game 1. Game 2 was a stomp. Probably not a lot to watch in this one. So I guess we could kind of look at it from a pick ban perspective, but then I'd have to go back a little bit. So I guess the one thing to talk about is Gimgoon coming in. Khan was not the issue. It was a team-wide issue with FPX. That's why they were losing their matches. But if we take a look at how they approached the draft, they banned Lee Sin, Jin. They banned Jin. So, SMLZ is a big SMLZ's main champion is Jin. So that's the only reason why they did that. Jin is not an overpowered pick right now. It's just SMLZ's best champion. So first picking the Aphelios, again, I think first picking the Aphelios is the correct thing to do still. I think that the Ashe love, that Ashe, is way too overblown and is just wrong. So they responded with Syndra and Olaf. Let me make sure I've got this in the right order still. Because it's not only important to know who, like, what champions were picked, it does matter which order they're picked in. For when we're considering using them in the future. So let me clear that real quick. Alright, so Aphelios, first pick, is a good pick. Responding with Syndra and Olaf. Syndra, good pick. Olaf, question mark. Not a great champion, in my opinion. It's a snowball champion. So you have Olaf, and then you have Kog'Maw. That doesn't make any sense together, in my opinion. Kog'Maw wants to scale. Olaf, Gangplank wants to scale. So I don't think this guy right here makes any sense. Or at least if... Actually, I guess so it's the opposite. I guess if you're going to pick the Olaf, you don't want to pick Kog'Maw, you don't want to pick Gangplank. The reasons why they pick these champions is because Kog'Maw has long range, which is pretty good against Aphelios. Gangplank has his ultimate, so that's also very good against Aphelios. But they don't have any way to really lock down Aphelios in a team fight. There's no hard CC. So unless you hit a Scatter the Weak with Syndra, you're not really going to be able to lock him down. And if you get him with the Scatter the Weak, you're probably going to be able to use all of Syndra's other abilities to force cooldowns and then get the follow-up from your team. So I just don't think there's a lot of synergy from OMG's team composition. Just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So I guess we could talk about the positioning. So like I said, I did not watch this game. So I'm going to try to predict what a team fight that they would win would look like and a team fight that they would lose would look like. So if OMG wins a team fight, I think that it would be because they got to the objective first, established control of a specific area, and forced FPX to walk into them. That actually seems like a pretty good thing to do. The problem is you can't always guarantee that your team is going to have the tempo advantage or the ability to establish position first, and that is a kind of weakness that you don't see a lot of analysts or coaches talking about. It's a lot more like obscure. Most people like to think about like obscure things and like not only the obscure things but also like micro stuff where like small interactions where people the champions are fighting each other in lane, and those things are impossible to predict. So there's really no reason to do that. It's very easy to think to yourself, okay, well, there's going to be a dragon at the 6-minute mark, 5 to 6 minutes after that, 5 to 6 minutes after that, 5 to 6 minutes after that for the entire game. So maybe we should pick ban around that dragon. That seems kind of important. So like I said, they need to establish control of the space first in order for them to have enough spacing for their team composition to work correctly. FPX has the Trundle, which is a good champion, especially against something like Kog'Maw, because it's going to slow down the Tahm Kench when he eats up Kog'Maw and spits him back out. So that's a good champion against Olaf, a good champion against Kog'Maw, a good champion against Tahm Kench, and it's going to help create space for the Aphelios. Thresh is going to have Lantern for Aphelios, so even if he's hit by Scatter the Weak, as long as Thresh plays it correctly, there are chances to get out of it without Aphelios burning any cooldowns or QSS or anything like that. That's another thing that Aphelios would probably be able to do in this match, is build some magic resistance, either in the form of a QSS or probably a QSS, maybe a Hex Drinker, but probably a QSS. There isn't a lot of hard CC, so being able to eliminate the 1 to 2 pieces of hard CC that might come out would be pretty smart. Maybe not. That's a lot of gold to spend on that. So maybe a Hex Drinker is better. So we have Thresh with the Lantern. We have Renekton. Blind pick Renekton is okay, especially if you're the team that is projected to win the match. So you're forcing OMG to index into a late game team composition, and you're the better team, so you should be able to force the game before it gets to that late game point. And if any team can do it, FPX is certainly that team. Then we also have Galio. So Galio, again, went back on 10.6 and 10.7 when I was predicting the transition to champions like Galio. It was not only because of their strength with helping junglers, it was also because of their ability to help 80 carries in team fights, specifically Aphelios. So if their team is engaging onto the Aphelios, you send in Galio. Galio has an AoE knockup. Everybody's happy. Also has the taunts. So taunts are great as an engage as well. So I know that we saw the one fight early on, so let's just see if OMG was able to establish position. The problem, though, with OMG is that they need to scale, so even if they get position at that first dragon, they're probably not going to be able to fight it very well. Okay, so let's slow this down a little bit. I mean, it looks like they're doing pretty well for themselves right now. So they're down 400 gold. Tahm Kench and Kog'Maw are... they were shoved into their tower. Tian is taking the dragon. And nothing happens there. So... I think I just saw a new Binging with Babish video in my recommended videos. SpongeBob's Death Sunday? I don't remember that one. But I will be watching that. So I'm just looking for that first fight, and it looks like we still don't get that first fight. Let me guess, it happens around a dragon. I mean, okay, it looks like it's just a slow game. So this is the kind of game where FPX creates a small gold advantage in the early game, and then is just able to snowball it out of control. So they're not necessarily contesting all of these objectives or anything. The next dragon fight seems to go pretty low as well. OMG is able to get one kill, but... I mean, honestly, OMG is really not doing too bad. 1.3k. It's 2 towers to 1. 1 dragon to 1. So at this point, OMG actually looks like they're the team that is going to be more likely to... Not more likely to win. Has good chances to win, because... They've managed to keep it close until the 20-minute mark. And I guess for OMG, you probably need to hit the 30-minute mark before you can really feel comfortable taking all these fights. Maybe the 25-minute mark if you get ahead. But that's not likely against FPX. So let's see. Uh-oh. Yeah, okay. So let's watch this in slow motion. Oh boy, the entire game broke open at that dragon fight. Alright. So this is the play that decides the match. So let me switch back over to the pencil. Alright, so first we have OMG finding a pick onto Tian. Let me actually get rid of that. So on the minimap, we had 2 players from FPX in the mid lane, basically. Duanbi was in the mid lane, and Crisp was in base. So OMG, this is actually a good time for them to look for some kind of fight. They try to get a pick onto Tian, but they're unable to kill him before he escapes. This caused OMG to clump in this area right here, which gave Galio a good flanking opportunity, and he landed a big taunt onto several members, which kept them all in place, and then Aphelios was able to follow up with his ultimate. So yesterday, I talked about Aphelios being a great first pick champion, because even if you get countered in lane, you're able to pick up some free kills in a spot like that, and then you're snowballing out of control. So now they have a 3,500 gold lead. This game is over, especially after they take the Baron. That's a new Kog'Maw skin. Very nice Kog'Maw skin. So now we have FPX on Soul Point, and I mean, that game is over. Yeah, that game is over. So let's go to game 1. I did not watch game 1 of Vici Gaming against EDG. I was asleep, because I sleep sometimes. I almost didn't sleep, but I did. Alright. So let's see. We have the Aphelios ban, which I think is smart from red side. We have a Nidalee ban, which is okay against Leon, but they're still giving away Graves. They banned Volibear. So I don't think that it's necessary to ban out Volibear and Nidalee, leaving up Graves, unless you have some kind of plan. We had 1 jungle ban, 2 jungle bans, 3 jungle bans, 2 mid lane bans against Scout. Scout's a good player. His champion pool is much more deep than just Syndra and Twisted Fate. And we'll see in games 2 and 3 the champion that that was used to win this match pretty easily by Scout. So first pick Kalista. Kalista is a better counter pick than it is a blind pick, in my opinion. Not a huge fan of that one. Ashe is really popular right now. I don't think that she deserves to be as popular as she is, but against the Kalista, I think there are a lot of like opportunities to like play to your strengths. So like there are 2 champions that are fundamentally different. The Kalista has higher mobility and can help engage. Ashe is more of like a positional AD carry where she can kite better than Kalista. So Ashe has the ability to move forward by engaging with her ultimate, and also move backwards. So if she's being collapsed on by the enemy team, it's a little bit easier for her to kind of stand her ground. We have a Karma. Actually, let me back up a little bit. I want to see what order this was locked in. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about draft strategy. So, okay, we have an ADC. We have an ADC. We have a jungler. Whoop. We have a mid laner, but this could also be a support. We've got a jungler. We have a jungler, top laner, and a support. So that's considered a flex champion when you can do when you can play multiple positions with that champion. Azir, that's locking in mid lane. So we know the mid laners for both teams. We know the AD carries for both teams. In my opinion, I think this is a mistake that most teams make. And the reason I say that is because it's easier to how should I say this? I think that teams should be more focused on getting flexible tanks that can build good defensive items against multiple kinds of threats. If you know, for example, if you're EDG and you know that there is a Kalista on the other team, you should be thinking about which tanks are best against Kalista. Because if you're going to be fighting around Dragon and around Baron, then you should be thinking to yourself, if we have to contest this objective, which champion that is a good tank can get onto the Kalista and stop her from being able to do her job. Or maybe not even just tanks, but also like other dive champions. So I think at this point you could have kind of justified going for something a little bit more aggressive on the side of EDG, but I guess one thing that happens is a lot of teams kind of convince themselves we want to play champions X, Y, and Z, and they're just going to go for that no matter what. But let's keep moving. So Karma is another good flex pick. She can play top, mid, and support as well. So we have 2 flex champions from EDG. Flex champions are good because it's like you're not showing your hand to the enemy team, and then you have good flexibility on your 5th pick, which is one of the only benefits of being on red side, is that you have the flexibility to counter pick with your final champion selection. So we have Nautilus that locks in support. So now we know Galio is going mid lane. And then we have Renekton in the top lane. So blind Renekton, we see that pretty often. Not a big deal. Against the Karma, it's an annoying matchup for the Renekton because Renekton will most likely not be able to snowball out of control because Karma is a relatively safe laner. And then we have Braum. So again, a lot of people don't like Braum. I love Braum. I think that Braum is a very smart champion in this meta because of the existence of champions like Graves. And Ashe, really, and Aphelios. Like, Braum is the kind of champion that you actually get a lot of utility out of his shield to block ultimates and stuff like that. But let's skip forward in the game. Like I said, I did not watch this game live. Uh-oh. That doesn't look good. Alright. So let's see. It would appear we have a dragon fight. This is not a dragon fight. This is a random skirmish for no reason. So this is the kind of thing that you're going to be annoyed if you're EDG's coaches, because they've already given up the first dragon, and now they're fighting over a Rift Scuttle. So right now we have 4v3, but Galio has his ultimate. Mako gets engaged on pretty poorly. EDG was kind of split up because of the Galio ultimate. So when you're EDG, you need to either say we're disengaging this way or we're just disengaging this way and have the 4 players kind of group up together. This option was the better one if the bot lane just moved their way up through the blue side. A relatively close fight. I think sort of just unlucky. And the reason why you'd be upset if you're one of the coaches of EDG is because you basically lost the game at the 7-minute mark without contesting an objective or anything. You just wanted to fight over a Scuttle Crab. Like, there's no reason for that fight to occur right there. So you have to ask yourself, like, is EDG even stronger at that point in the game? And the answer is no. Callista is stronger before the first item, I think. Nautilus is definitely stronger before the first item than Braum. Because, like, Nautilus has the ability to engage a little bit more easily than Braum. Braum does have the passive, which is very strong. But that's only really beneficial and impactful around, like, jungle skirmishes and stuff where you kind of get the jump on the enemy team. I mean, I guess it's tough to say that this game is over, but this game is basically over. It's a 2,000 gold lead at the 7-minute and 30-second mark on a team that's going to be able to snowball pretty well. I guess EDG still does have chances to outscale. But that gold deficit is going to hurt for most of the game. Let's see if there's another team fight that happens. Yeah, so now it's 5k and they've got Ocean Soul. So this game, I knew this game was a little bit slower when I opened up DraftKings this morning. This game started off pretty fast, right? And then slowed down significantly. So we'll talk about a few. All right, so I guess this is a good instructive point. So Cube knew that Jai, or I think it's JJ actually. I think I heard that yesterday. JJ and Scout were both sitting in that bush. Cube knew that it tried to ward the bush, missed the ward, which is just bad. Like, it's a stupid little mistake that a professional player should not be making. Then Cube ran away and came back thinking that the jungler would be gone. But this is the play that kind of changes the game. So this is called a tower dive. And when the jungler shows topside and the mid laner is presumably topside, it's a good time for Vici Gaming to make a play in the bot lane, because the chances of the other team responding without spending summoner spells is like basically zero. Unfortunately, EDG had several teleports that they could bring to this fight. So the thing about tower dives is that they're pretty risky, because if you don't kill them fast enough, the tower does an increasing amount of damage with every tower shot once it gets like overheated. And Dragon is coming up in 10 seconds. So I guess Vici Gaming's plan was get 1 to 2 kills, back off onto Dragon. That's a good play if you can execute it correctly. Let's see if they're able to execute it correctly. All right, so Leona's the one taking damage, which is fine. That is what you're supposed to do. Did Ashe take the first tower shot? Yeah. Okay. So this was probably the biggest mistake of this dive. So Ashe was the first one taking tower shots. So Ashe had to leave the tower dive first. I wonder if he wastes flash here as well. Okay, he does not. But at this point, it's barely even worth it. So Leona should be the one initiating the dive, because she has Aftershock. Aftershock gives you additional defenses, which make you tankier. Scout and Xiaoshang both show up to the bot lane team fight with their teleports and are able to get several return kills, and also set up for the dragon. I'm assuming they get the dragon here, if I remember correctly. JJ just has to come running down after he kills his camp. All right, so they did not make the immediate play onto the dragon. But that is the next thing that they ended up doing. So that's pretty easy. That's a free dragon. We take those. So their gold lead is only about 1,000 right now. There are a couple more plays that help this game get out of control. I'm assuming they get Rift Herald and First Tower. Because they have the tempo advantage, they are a little bit stronger. Scout is out of control at this point as Zoe, because of the positional advantage that she has. So she can shove her wave and rotate to side lanes first. They got 2 towers topped with 1 Rift Herald. That's actually very good. The next dragon's coming up in 40 seconds. And Renekton, Xiaoshang played very well this game. So that's one of the reasons why I was on EDG last night for my qualifier seat. Was I thought that EDG had some surprisingly close matches and potential advantages. I know that Zika is really hyped up right now, but Scout is still a very good player. Zika is 17, so a very, very young mid laner. I'm excited for Zika long term. I think that the Coma trusts him, so I have to trust him. But Scout is still only 21 or 22 years old. He was Zika 5 years ago, basically. He was thought of as this amazing player. So Scout right there dodges an Ashe arrow with his ultimate, completely accidental, by the way. So that was just fortunate. I assume it was a mistake, not a mistake, an accident or a coincidence that they both used their ultimates at the same time. If that was intentional, then good for you. That was amazing. But I doubt it. So at this point, Vici Gaming is walking around in the mid lane. This is one of the problems with Ashe, is that she's relatively immobile, especially against Nautilus, Volibear, Varus, Zoe. Just a very good team composition to abuse positional mistakes for my boy. And at this point, one thing that we talk about all the time is summoner spells. So we have Graves had to blow a flash there. Ashe had to use flash and cleanse. So for the next 5 minutes or so, Ashe is a sitting duck. So very easy to kill Ashe. We have a 2k gold lead. We get another dragon. And in my opinion, this game should be over. Assuming correct play from both teams. Vici Gaming managed to take away a dragon, but EDG just continued to snowball. 4K lead. They ended up getting like 20-something kills here. Most of them were completely inconsequential. It was just like that's how they ended the game. There was nothing exceptional about this performance from EDG. It's just this is how the game turned out. So I think it was very lucky that EDG managed to get 27 kills. If they did not have this performance, they would not have been the primary stack of the night. So I guess they kind of backed their way into that one. All right, so the pick ban for Game 3. So we go back to something a little more similar to the first draft. Callista is locked in first. Again, I don't think that Callista is the best AD carry in the game right now. I think that would be Mr. Aphelios. So Aphelios is banned out. Nidalee is banned out, so we have 1 jungle ban. Volibear is banned out. That's 2 jungle bans. The Volibear was banned out because JJ had a good game on Volibear. I don't think that was really worth... that performance was not worth a ban. So unless the Volibear is countering something that you intend to do with your team composition, I don't think that's worth a ban, personally. Yeah, so we have the AD carry, mid lane, jungle, blind top, jungle. So this is picking your top lane blind is kind of questionable before the next wave of bans. Although, if you, it's not the worst because you're gonna have to blind pick your top and mid lane anyways. Well, actually not necessarily. You will have to probably pick your top or mid lane blind unless EDG picks a flex champion, which they ended up doing, because Karma is not only a flex champion, she's also considered a power pick right now by a lot of professional teams. But I think that Karma's probably just overrated right now. The style of game that a Karma allows you to play is actually pretty difficult to execute. So I think teams will often trick themselves into picking the Karma when she's not nearly as strong as the teams kind of think. Like, teams are always looking for something where they can just lock in a champion, mindlessly play the game, and win. That is the goal of most professional teams. So Vici Gaming, yes. Yeah, so I watched this live. I was pretty happy about this. So Vici Gaming set up for the first dragon of the game. We're at the 5-minute and 45-second mark. EDG was ready to respond to this, and they invested a lot to respond to this dragon. So they did not get the dragon for themselves, but look at all of the gold that they get from this team fight. So EDG has 1 kill with 4 assists on top, which is great. And I think they also get... I thought they got more out of this. No? I guess not. So that's 1,000 gold. There's another fight relatively soon. The first play of the game was actually very smart as well. So Scout, Xiaoshang, and JJ all dove top lane. Scout used the TP to go to top lane, which is very smart. And they made the same kind of gank again. So I think that Zoe might have actually been a smart ban because Scout is obviously very good at Zoe. And he showed in the previous game that he was like on fire. So it's tough to say that it was a necessary ban. Definitely not a necessary ban. But I don't think anybody would have given them any garbage for banning out Zoe after his previous Zoe performance. So now it's a 1k gold lead. We have Dragon coming up in 10 seconds, and I'm pretty sure this is where the game ends. So Vici Gaming is pretty desperate. They're only down 1,000 gold. They're down 2 kills. They have a dragon. So maybe they feel like they might even be stronger right now, depending on what back timings they had. Renekton gets hooked by Thresh. So that was just a good play by Mako. Lee Sin goes in for the kill. And then Zoe comes in for cleanup duty. Zoe just does so much damage. What a ridiculous champion. Every time I watch this champion, I just think to myself, I need to learn how to play her better. Because I tried her once when she was like just coming out as a champion, but it was pretty difficult to figure out without seeing how professionals were doing it and everything. Just like the trading patterns are kind of weird, the farming is weird in lane. But it's 11 minutes into the game. Zoe is 3-0-2. This game is 100% over. So that's basically it. We discussed the games earlier on. We discussed tomorrow's games earlier on. I was correct. This is the Sunday from SpongeBob SquarePants, the Bad Breath Sunday. So that's what I'm going to do next. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed the review. I have another video coming out later today with Billy Von Elders about the rankings from ESPN Esports. So watch out for that one. If you have some other kind of content you want to see or some games you want me to take a look at, just leave a comment. Hit me up on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, etc. If you want to join the Patreon community, you'll get access to my picks. So you'll be able to get my messages about EDG being the sharp play last night, or at least those kinds of picks in the future. And just in case anybody's going to say, you're a liar, you didn't say that, there it is right there at the bottom of the screen. FPX VG. EDG is live dog and is the sharp side. I don't like them at plus 117, but if they were plus 140, I'd be on it as a real life bet. I went through my sheet yesterday as well, and there were like 40 stacks where you could get FPX as your primary stack and secondary stack with EDG as your primary and secondary and Vici as your primary and secondary. So it was an okay night to kind of mass multi-enter, as long as like a 4-2-1 or something like that didn't win. So the results-oriented thinking is that I should have played MMA last night, but that was not my plan. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.